Hey everyone, my name is George Ortega, and this is daily coronavirus-driven mind stuff. It's essentially a video journal where I present my thoughts and feelings as I navigate this coronavirus distancing and hopefully try to present some ideas and about how we can navigate it as a group and also prevent future pandemics. I've been talking about that before in the past. All right, so it's Tuesday, April 21st, 2020, and it's about 1:25 in the afternoon. I guess you see that on the timestamp. I guess these are all stamps. So anyway, let's see. Things have been going so well for me personally because of Zoom. You know, I have been able to, I guess, replace the way I would interact with people, you know, in real life with going on to these Zoom chats. And it's not just been a matter of replacing what I lost. It's actually adding so much more to my life. I mean, before the coronavirus, I didn't relate all that much to people. I had, you know, some people that I would see in town each day. I'd talk to a few people over the phone. But now it feels like I am basically going to like socials, parties every night, every evening, and one of the groups is kind of like a support group for people who are anxious or depressed. So that group feels kind of like a group therapy, and it's been excellent. It's been beyond excellent. And you know, I'm looking forward to tonight. I have a group therapy type Zoom meeting at 6, and then I have my happiness group at 8. And like, for example, last night, you know, the group went on till about 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I actually took a break for an hour and a half during that time. What happens in Zoom is you can assign someone from the room to be the host. And so as that was going on, I actually just like, I meditated for a while. Then I found that I was just listening to the conversation. I had to rest my eyes because like looking at the TV for too long just kind of like hurts it a bit. So, you know, and it was just so wonderful to hear the conversation of people that I'd just been talking with. And I was just noticing that it was like so much more entertaining and productive, I think, than so much that I would ordinarily watch on TV. I really don't watch TV that much, but I mean, no commercials. I mean, it was really rewarding. And then I went back on, you know, I think at around 10:30 for another hour and a half or so. Then I went back to meditating and you know, trying to get some sleep. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. It's a challenging time. Um, what's foremost in my mind, because in terms of like navigating where we are now, you know, we got to keep the distancing in place and keep the businesses closed for the time being. But where my mind goes in this is because this is something that we're in the midst of, and we, you know, the experts are handling it. There's not so much we can contribute. And actually, there is something that I'd like to contribute. For example, sometimes they're closing beaches and parks, and I'm not sure that's so smart because, for example, people need to be walking, you know, get exercise. And, you know, if you're in a beach or a park, you have so much more space to distance yourself properly from other people. Whereas like in many sidewalks, you know, it's pretty impossible sometimes to keep 6 feet apart. So that's one suggestion I would have. The other relates to the closing of the limited hours of the supermarkets. And yeah, I think they're doing that to limit the exposure time. I hope they're doing that to limit the exposure time of the employees. Um, but you know what I think they might want to do, and I don't know how possible this is like, in my supermarket shop right here in White Plains, they have the self-checkout, and there's generally 4 aisles, but I'm wondering if they can make the rest of the aisles self-checkout, and how technologically possible that would be in so short of a time. But either that, or find some way to keep the employees safe. Maybe have them, most of them, come work when the store is closed. It might be a bit of a burden for them, let's say working at night perhaps, but it would keep them safer. And then the idea would be that because do the math. I mean, think this through. Let's say exaggerating it, let's say ShopRite was only open from 12 noon till 1 in the afternoon. Okay, so like naturally you'd have so many more people there at the same time, because that's the only time it's open. So now I think it's open from 8 to 8. And if they would expand those hours, let's say from 6 to even 12, that would give the workers there, again, ideally they're working at night, staying safe, not having to work while the shoppers are there. And like by having this, what would be 14 hours, 6 to 6, 18 hours, the store would be open instead of the 12 now. That would, like, for example, I would shop there at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, because there would be fewer people there. But throughout the day, there would be fewer people. I mean, it's just simple math. And I don't understand why, this hasn't, maybe I'm not seeing the full picture on it. But anyway, that's a suggestion. But yeah, like I was saying before, I'm focused more on what happens when our economy is restarted. And what concerns me the most is that the unemployment claims are up to 22 million now, and they may go as high as 30 million. And now, naturally, many of those who have filed unemployment claims will be able to return to work when the economy is reopened. And it's a question in terms of like how many. I would imagine, I mean, it seems to me that at least 80% of those people, who are now out of work would be able to return to their jobs. I would hope it's at least that much. But I think that even with something like that, it's going to still leave a lot of people who are unemployed. And the government is absolutely going to have to step in to help, people get back to work. This is not something that the private sector can do. This is a situation very similar to the Great Depression, where actually it wasn't until I believe 1939 that FDR created the Works Project. It's got two names, and it always confuses me. It's the Works Projects Administration, and that was like initially named the Works Projects Administration. It's kind of like a tongue twister in a way, but anyway, they spent about 6% of the GDP on getting, I get maybe millions of people jobs. I don't know how many people were unemployed back then. But to put that in comparison, we've just, our third stimulus package was 2.2 trillion. That was about 10% of our GDP. So this is telling you how expensive this is to deal with. But we're going to have to like get these people to work. And so I want to offer an idea. This coronavirus pandemic is a challenge for us, but it's also an opportunity for us to create a much better world, as what happened after the Great Depression. You know, the social program, Social Security, I believe, was started then. You know, people, the safety net that we rely on now to keep us, you know, good, to keep our, you know, people who can't work healthy and, you know, give them a lifestyle. So what I was thinking is, and this actually may be in line with preventing future pandemics. You wonder how many of the homeless who are out on the street all the time, how much that's contributing to the risk of and the spread of the pandemic. So the idea that I had, and I hope they do something like this. If you've ever been on the internet, you've seen these tiny little houses that they have, you know, and it's like, it's kind of like one of those mobile homes, but it's really it's more aesthetically pleasing. It looks like a little house. So you have the basic, you know, you have, I imagine, a little kitchen area, a little bathroom area, a little studio area, like, you know, living room, bedroom, whatever. And I imagine those houses could probably be put up in a week or two by people, you know, trained construction workers and people. And the idea behind that is like, you know, and even like, you know, with the homeless shelters that we have now, I wouldn't blame the homeless for not wanting to go there, because, you know, just like sometimes nursing homes, these places are breeding grounds for spreading of the coronavirus. And so, but to the extent that the homeless are not in those places, they're out on the street. And again, in some cities, it's pretty difficult to distance oneself. So I hope that happens. You know, but again, the concern is really there's going to be so many people out of work, and I think it's we need to look for creative ways to put them back to work. I'm not sure manufacturing jobs are going to be the thing. I think, you know, our economy is much more of a service economy, and I think probably has to stay that way. You know, people are saying that we need to be more independent in terms of our economy from other countries, but that's not a reasonable assessment, because our global community has to be completely interconnected for us to successfully navigate climate change. So, you know, in other words, like if we can save a lot of money by having people in other countries who would otherwise starve, perhaps, if, you know, if they weren't working, if we can, you know, employ them, get cheaper products there and keep them alive, you know, and this is part of the global economy we've had, then that's probably a better way to tackle climate change. So yeah, one of the creative ways that I was thinking we might want to put people to work is this distancing is creating, I think, situations, circumstances for people that are similar to post-traumatic, what is that, PSTD, trauma disorder, I don't know what, post-PS, I don't know, but you've heard of it. It's like this that basically we're going through a kind of a trauma. You know, this is a very difficult time, and it wears on us. It really kind of like makes us anxious and apprehensive about our lives, about the future. And some of us, it makes depressed. And so I mentioned this before. I want to mention it again. There was a series of pioneering studies in the 60s and 70s where they basically showed that if a person who is depressed received therapy from a claim, and this is not for people who are really psychotic and have major mental illness, this is for everyday depression. So if a person who's depressed sees a professional, they get well at the same rate that a person who was depressed and saw a non-professional for therapy would recover. and this was like, you don't hear much about this because, psychotherapy is a business like all other businesses. And if people, back then they thought if people, you know, realized or discovered that this peer therapy type model is just as effective, at least for depression, as the professional model, then, naturally the therapist would be in less demand. But the problem now is, I think there's only so many therapists to go around, and they're feeling stressed, I'm sure. So this is an idea. I may be, exaggerating the extent of the anxiety and depression that people are going through and will go through. But if I'm not, this might be something that we might want to consider in terms of like getting people back to work. All right, I'm watching the TV for a minute. So I think I'm doing fairly well not watching the TV. All right, so because I'm looking at the camera and I have the TV on, as opposed to yesterday when I turned it off, because actually I could turn it off. I'll look at the clock. It's not a big deal. So I've got the TV off now, no distraction, and I've got about 11 minutes, 53 seconds on, left for the show. And I guess at the 2-minute mark, when I begin to wrap up, I can just turn on the TV and, So this is a work in progress, this show, it's just, this is episode number 8. And I'm doing it every day. And, if it's, I hope it's at least a curiosity, a kind of a quirky curiosity. And I actually hope, this is art. I am an artist. And unfortunately, I'm not able to like create much, because at least in terms of like music and, this is actually my art media right now. Art is about expression. Art is about sometimes expanding our horizons in terms of like how we see the world and how we interact with it. For example, music, theater, dance, these are all arts that just get us in touch with various aspects of reality we may not be appreciating as much as we could. So like, having said that, I think it would be so cool if other people here in White Plains, this is like White Plains Community Media, station Optimum 76, and it broadcasts cable casts every night at 5, Monday through Friday. And so it'd be so cool if other people decided to do the same thing, either, daily or once a week or every few days, because, I think that, I have a certain personality that may appeal to a certain kind of an audience, certain kinds of people in White Plains. But then there are other kinds of people that are very different than from me, who would appeal to other people. Maybe, a much wider audience. That'd be great. So anyway, I hope that might happen. Okay. So what else? So I'm sitting in this sofa, and like ordinarily I'd have like my head propped up against this pillow, and I think I want to do that because like, I don't know, it's good to, and I'm gonna have to adjust the camera, turn on the TV again, whatever. But I don't know, it's kind of like, I think it's important. I just like to be relaxed. And all right, the shot won't, I think I'm going to leave the camera angle as it is. And sometimes it goes off focus. Oh, it's just gone off focus. And that's interesting, this camera. So what happens, you hold your hand up to the camera and it's an autofocus thing. All right, so yeah, this is a fine shot. I'm turning the TV back off for the next 9 minutes or 7 minutes, whatever. And so what else? Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. There's a guy who lives in Canada, and my meetup group, my happiness group, where I post my Zoom events, has about 1,500 people. And then the new group that I just created a couple of weeks ago, it only has 50 people so far. It's just brand new. But there's a guy in Canada who's been joining my Zoom, therapy party conversations that start at 8 each night. And he's a great guy. And he runs a meetup in Canada, in Toronto. He's got over 4,000 members on his meetup. And he asked me, listen, is it all right if I post a link on my meetup, telling people about this group? And I said, absolutely. And I also made him an event organizer of my group, because the name of the group is Connecting Everyone Through Zoom Wanted Event Organizers. So the idea is like, you know, my group goes from 8 to whenever, but, you know, then there are a lot of people during the day. I'd love to see these, you know, these Zoom party conversation therapy support groups happening 24/7. You know, for example, I was talking to, so anyways, like he will hopefully do that also, just create events for his Toronto, you know, group on my site also. But for example, there was a woman on the group last night. She, like many of us, is up half the night. And so I just made her an event organizer a couple of nights ago. And I was suggesting to her, listen, if you are up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't have anything to do, or you anticipate that this is going to be the case, create an event that starts at 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., you know, so she'll have somebody to talk to, you know, and because many of us are not sleeping. And if they have that opportunity, that might really help people. So again, the idea would be to have these Zoom conversations 24/7, you know, you know, to conform to people's different schedules. That would be a great idea, I think. All right, 6 minutes and 35 seconds to go. I'm doing this again early in the day because, like, you know, once I get on, starting at 6 o'clock with that meetup, I do get tired. Again, a lot of it is just watching the TV screen. So I figured if I do this early in the day, you know, upload it. What I do is I upload it to my Google Drive. This is like so seamless. Then the White Plains Community Media pulls the episode down into their system from my Google Drive. And I'll, you know, in other words, I don't have to create a disk and mail it to them, or you know, deliver it to them in person. This is all done seamlessly online. So I'll, you know, I'll do that. And then, you know, yesterday I totally overextended myself. I was in Zoom meetings from 11 in the morning till 1 the next morning, except for maybe, you know, that break that I told you about. And I don't want that to happen today. So after I do this, I think what I want to do is perhaps meditate. I mean, I'd like to straighten up a bit. I mean, this place is not, maybe I'll give you a tour someday, but this place is all right. But, you know, I should, you know, if I took, let's say, 20 minutes, I could probably straighten it up the way it should be, you know, put things away. And it's good because, like, you know, actually segueing back to this group that my friend runs, this virtual support group, you know, she was asking, I gotta ask her to do this again because it really helped me. She went around the room. There were maybe 6 or 7 of us in the room at the time. She said, well, you know, what goal would you like to work on? Right. And you know, and it was very open-ended. It could be a goal for the day, a goal for the week, a goal for the month, and all, you know, and so I remember this was like last week. I said, well, my goal is to straighten up the apartment. And it was much less straightened up than it is now. So, so I made the goal, and that day, you know, there's a part of me that, like, had I joined her group the next evening as I intended and hadn't done that, I would have felt a bit of shame, you know, or a little embarrassment. So that motivated me to do this. And then the next day, the goal was to straighten up some stuff in the kitchen and the closet, and I did that. So yeah, I'm gonna hopefully attend the group later today and ask her to do that. And maybe, you know, maybe having told you guys, although it's not like the same thing. In other words, I have no idea who's, you know, who you are, you know, even if you're watching, whatever. So, like, I'm not sure that my saying that I'm going to straighten up my apartment today before that meeting is going to work. Who knows? Although, you know, interesting, a lot of people are tackling this now. I think this is a problem for many people, cleaning and all, and people are, you know, I'm joining rooms where people say that they they're getting better at it and enjoying it. Okay. So I will meditate, and the other thing I want to do that I do every day, and I'd like to do it twice a day, is take a walk. It looks like a nice day. I don't like to walk when it's too sunny out. Well, it's all right. But, I basically, and as I'm walking, I'm holding my phone. I've told you this before, and people think that I'm talking on the phone with someone, where I'm actually just recording, verbalizing my thoughts, which again, I can remind you was the original theme of this series, that I was going to describe the benefits of talking to oneself, not just silently the way we ordinarily do, but just audibly verbalizing the thoughts. It is so productive. I mean, if someone has never been in psychotherapy, I've been in therapy before for depression and anxiety, and I discovered that I would say 80% of the effectiveness of therapy, regardless of who it's with, is probably what the person, the client, the patient says. And I discovered that. So what I realized that, like, when I'm walking through town, recording it gives me motivation to do it more for whatever reason. But I just find I'm so productive in that way. All right, we're at 1minute and 39 seconds. So let me start wrapping up. I'm trying to turn on the TV, but it didn't turn on the first time. There we go. All right, so again, this is daily coronavirus-driven mind stuff. My name is George Ortega, and I'm recording here on for White Plains Community Media. And basically, if you're watching this online, because you could be watching it through their website or through the YouTube videos that I'm beginning to upload of these episodes. And so here in White Plains, the show is on either through your TV or through their live presentation on the web, Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock. And yeah, so that's good. All right, 45 seconds. So what else? I hope you guys are really, getting better at navigating this crisis, maybe turning it to your advantage, as I've found possible in my life. I just feel that it has actually enhanced my life in various ways. And I hope you're, trying to, though, being responsible and trying to help as much as you can, depending on your field and your talents and your skills, to help us navigate this and hopefully prevent future pandemics. All right, so got 11 seconds, 10 seconds left. So I will be back with another episode tomorrow, and hope you're doing well. And I will see you then. Thanks.